Ignatius Kotongo Shivameni is actually my namesake. My other name is also Ignatius. I'm a bit emotional because he is really the one that has trained me in the kind of work around social justice that I'm doing nowadays. Part of this training took place in the CA's political prison in 1988, where we spent a month together in the same cell, and most of the discussions, almost 20 hours a day, was political education and conscientization. So I want to take a moment and just salute him for what he meant for me personally, for this country, and for humanity. And may his soul indeed rest in peace. I want to thank our long-standing partner and all-weather partner, FES, for the kind invitation. Many donor partners that we had have left, but FES is one of the few partners that remains and supports the work that we do around social justice. I almost declined the invitation because land issues makes me very emotional. But then I read the subtitle of the book, Motions and Emotions, and I said, okay, let me go there and be emotional, because that's what the author is wanting us to do. And I really want to commend Erica for a wonderful book, for an emotionally charged book. I've read it twice, maybe a month ago and again last night, and there were highs and lows. There were times that I was saying, like, how could he? And then other times I was saying, yes, tell them. And so please read the book, and it's really a very, very lively book. I also want to thank you in particular for changing your format from doing just the questionnaires and taking time to travel and meet people and interact and to also observe the silent answers that people normally don't give, that you get from body language and so on. I know it was a lot of risk, a lot of effort, sacrifice, but I think it was really worth it, the kind of work that came out from there. I want to organize my thoughts in around three points. One, just some general comments on the work of the author and the approaches. Then secondly, I want to mention, from my experience from the work in this area, some issues that fuels the emotions around land reform. And then I want to conclude with some thoughts for the way forward about how we can build consensus and try to cool down temperatures and create some consensus around this emotionally charged topic. The first one around the work of the author, and as I said, I really want to commend you. I'm not surprised by the kind of work that you have done. We have previously worked together on the genocide issue within the churches, trying to bring a conversation around, especially in the Lutheran churches, of different speakers, and it has been quite useful. It's important to monitor the emotions in society, I think, so that we can assess and if there is need, take some appropriate actions. I was really recently moved by how sometimes Namibians that are supposed to be quiet and silent and apparently peaceful were charged by things like I remember when the 3 young guys were killed by the Botswana Defense Force. Just in a few days, people organized and there were demonstrations and social media and so on, and it caused a lot of fear. There was the young women and girls around Egersmoeg, around the GBV campaign and so on, and there's especially around the reconciliation agreement. When it was released, it stirred a lot of emotions and debates and discussions and so on. So therefore, I think because we are in the age of social media and so on, revolutions can be organized without people meeting in halls, community halls, and so on. So therefore, it's good. The the landowners, so that we as Namibians can really sit down around the table and discuss these issues. And you have mentioned the initiatives that are ongoing around the German-speaking Namibians Forum and other people that are willing to enter into this kind of dialogue. So I think your book also provides that kind of information. I want to I think you have already admitted that it's difficult to, in a subject like this, be absolutely like not non-biased and neutral, and you have admitted that no one can actually claim to be objective and neutral in a discussion like this. There are in areas that I thought that you could have dig in a bit more. The thoughts and thinking of the Afrikaner community in Namibia, what we used to call the Boers, that voice is really absent. We really don't know what they think about the land question, what they are willing, what their thoughts are about their history, how they came here, and so on. There's been a lot of writing from the German speakers and so on, but the Afrikaner has been very, very quiet, and it would be interesting to hear what their thoughts are and so on. So if you are thinking of a third edition, please make a turn at a few of their places, and maybe also other foreigners, Italians, the Russians, Mexicans, and so on, just to see without a history like the one we have with Germany, what would come out there. Erika, I was a bit surprised by your avoidance to refer to genocide as often as you referred a lot to the 1905, 1908 colonial war, and I was just curious to know why you avoided to use the concept genocide, because that war is mostly been referred to as the genocide war, and I was just curious. I don't know whether you were in the conversation we had with a delegation from Germany, many of churches, where Bishop Nambala from the Elsin Church spoke for about 30 minutes about Namibia's struggle, colonial history, and so on. And in those whole 30 minutes, for once, he did not mention the word genocide. And I was just, after he spoke, I said, I was surprised that you didn't mention this thing, but it's something that just, sometimes people see that as sort of denying that there was genocide. I'm sure you are not in that boat because of the work that we have done previously and so on. Yeah, but I think more of our university professors and so on, political commentators, other journalists needs to do more of this kind of work. I want to come to the second part of my intervention and just my thoughts around why and what is fueling the emotions around the land issue. I think, and there's this thing comes up a lot in the book, the perception of peace and stability. I agree that we don't have war in Namibia, but whether we have peace, I'm not sure. When people go to bed on an empty stomach, I don't know whether you call that peace. When people have no hope, when they are jobless for years, when there is so much destitution, hopelessness, then I'm saying, who enjoys this peace that we have? And is it really a genuine peace? And when 50%, the UN says 50% of Namibians are facing multidimensional poverty, and I'm saying, is that really peace? How long is this stability going to be? And people try to find explanations about their poverty, and they say it's because our ancestors lost land that we are poor today. It's because the mines are owned by foreigners, and we don't get what we are supposed to get. So this notion of peace and stability, I think, is a problematic one. is many Black Namibians are asking, the blacks did not insist on ancestral land, they did not claim, they did not chase anyone, but then they ask him, what did the white Namibians bring to the table? What are they willing to sacrifice? What did they sacrifice for this reconciliation to happen? For us, from where I'm sitting, we only see prosperity, rich wealth, and all that within the white community, and the complete opposite for the majority of blacks. Lucky are the few blacks that have become millionaires, that are buying properties all over, some of them with state resources that they have illegally acquired. So I'm just saying we need to this give and take. So what did our compatriots and I'm not just talking about the land reform sector or the agricultural sector, but across the board, what did they give for this? I think we must also be mindful that our independence, and there's a lot of emphasis also when you listen to some of the commercial farmers around, the policies that we have are the right ones, they are the correct ones, the government must push those ones and so on. But like some of the policies we have, it's not really by choice. Some of these things were enforced on us. The 1982 principles that SWAPO was asked to accept, otherwise independence was going to be delayed, Resolution 435 was not going to be implemented. And these 1982 principles, we see it largely as protecting white interest in Namibia, European interest at all costs, and it even went to the extent of entrenching those clauses in the Constitution that if you touch those ones, you in fact have to touch the whole Constitution. You have to maybe suspend the Constitution and write a new Constitution. In Zimbabwe, at least they had an expiry for what they were forced to sign. In Namibia, there is no expiry; it's forever. We also know that the negotiations that were there between President Mandela and the apartheid government was in prison, where the property clause was compromised, and South Africans are still struggling today to address the land question because of the property clause and all those kinds of things. So it's not out of political will and so on that some of these policies were adopted. Many Namibians also feel that the guns maybe went silent, the active torture and so on of controller is no more happening, but what they go through on a daily basis feels like there is genocide still going on. I go to a place like Bogas in the south and I look at the faces of those people. Even a farm named after their late chief, Simon Cooper Farm, government is unable to expropriate that farm and give it to them, at least in recognition of the heroic struggle that he has led, although he has fled to Botswana and his grave is still there till today. You look at a farm like Hamakari that is mentioned in the book. There's one family against a whole of a Herero community. Why is government not engaging that community, that family, one family, and saying this place has so much historical value and it's a sacred place for this community? Why don't we buy this farm from you? We will pay you compensation for this, so that this community can freely come and do their rituals and so on, without every time has to go through, sorry for that word, a white man to get rights to go and practice their culture. So the interest of one family versus a community. A place like Dortapes, the one craft family's interest is protected by government on the expense of close to 2,000 people that lives there under very inhumane conditions. So I'm saying so that people can see that yes, there is this give and take. Another thing that is quite painful for and that raises a lot of emotions is that the lack of productivity is equated to being black. It's almost when you hear the commercial farmers commenting, oh, this resettlement program is useless. Oh, these people don't know what they don't know how to. And then you say the poor whites that were brought from South Africa here, if they were just given land like the Namibians in the resettlement program were given, if they were just given land and said, okay, here's your land, without any support, would they have become the successful farmers they are today? No. The German farmers that came from Germany, would they have been successful without the kind of support from their government? They are successful because they got the support from their government. And we have been left on our own. The schemes with Agribank and so on are just now 5 and 10 years old. When my sister and others were lucky to be resettled, there was no post-resettlement support. People were on their own. So yes, there will be failures, they will struggle. But also, there are successful communal farmers in communal areas. Some of them even more productive than white commercial farmers. The resettlement program was supposed to target those ones. They are known. Their livestock numbers are with meat board and so on. They are known. Target those ones, get them out of the communal areas, and create economic units, upgrade communal areas so that the small-scale farmers can make a start there. And the ones that are the strong ones that have been put on the resettlement program, you have a transitional program for them so that they can next go to Agribank and get a loan and get a loan. I'm sure my time is running out. There are other things that I would want to mention, but just finally, the failure of our government, the kind of misplaced land reform policies and programs that they are implementing cannot be blamed on the poor farmers that are trying to make a living. We have time and again advised the ministry, and it's probably the most arrogant ministry in this country. They ignore the emotions. They just completely, for them it's a technical thing, for them it's checklist, for them it's like, and then there's corruption. I mean, Professor Vena was there when we were discussing whether to release the resettlement list or not. General Namulo and others were saying this will cause chaos in the country. The permanent secretary then in the ministry was saying it will cause civil war if we release that list. And then you were wondering why? Why? You say you have a transparent program, you say people have been resettled justly and so on. So why are you afraid to release the resettlement list? And until today, we don't have a reliable, trustworthy resettlement list that you can rely on, and therefore we have asked for a audit of the resettlement program. I want to conclude on a positive note and just give some ideas in terms of how we can move forward. I think what landless Namibians are asking for is at least just to do the bare minimum of the consensus that have been reached between different stakeholders. We had a national land conference, first one in 91. 24 resolutions were adopted. 26 years after that, when we met at Safari on 1st October 2018, we realized that a very few of these resolutions were implemented by government. For example, we said at the first land conference, expropriate farms of absentee landlords. The minister still came and reported so many absentee landlords are there. We said foreigners must not own land. Just 2 weeks before the land conference, the Minister of Lands entered into a shaky deal with the Russians even struggling to explain to us what the deal is about. They bought the land, then they leased to government, then it's and all those kind of things. So we are saying the bare minimum we have compromised at the second land conference. At least implement those resolutions so that we can make progress. For example, there was talks about expropriation. The Ministry of Lands, after the 2008 judgment of on the Kessler case that recommended for the setting up of an expropriation committee, for example, and 3 years after the second land conference, the ministry is still struggling to set up an expropriation committee. Just a committee to deal with expropriation. That's how insensitive sometimes the leadership in the ministry is. So we are saying, please implement at least the consensus we are reaching at the land conference and the compromise resolutions of the Presidential Commission. Let's reach consensus. I was glad to hear that the commercial farmers have come up with some kind of a criteria for expropriation and how it could be done. Last week, or was it early this week, civil society also presented some proposals around criteria for expropriation and how compensation can be calculated and so on. So let's sit around the table and look at these proposals and reach some consensus. Unutilized and underutilized farms should be prioritized. I personally don't have a challenge with productive commercial farmers that are producing at full scale, that are employing and treating their workers well and are taking care of the environment and all those kind of things. Those ones must be supported and encouraged. We must just see maybe how the farm workers can be empowered. We can work with them. So we need to look at land that is unutilized and underutilized. Another idea: upgrade informal settlements. This is the low-hanging fruit. Even the high-level panel on the economy said, first-time homeowners, poor households, give them plots for free for housing. This was probably the only recommendation from that panel that was not accepted, because it was pro-poor. It's about poor people. It's not about the elite. So if people have at least a home in the urban areas, the tensions will cool down. People will feel they own a piece of Namibia in which they can call home. Let's look at innovative ways of empowerment, especially empowering farm workers. There are schemes in other places like South Africa, Western Cape, where farm workers also buy into shares within the agribusiness that they are participating in. So they are not just workers, but they are also co-owners. And the monies we are spending on buying this inflated price on farms, some of that money we can use to help farm workers to buy into the interest shares into the agribusinesses where they are working. Upgrade communal lands, there's great potential. I'm a product and a beneficiary of communal land. Me and Erica always have debate about this issue, whether you can survive from land and so on. And I say, when I look at my classmates, some of them that did not make it where some of us are now, I can see that most of them did not have additional support like farming. I'm sitting here because my grandmother had some farming business. We would load a few goats and go and sell before the school reopens, pay the school fee, and do all other things. And then combine other socio-economic empowerment programs around poverty eradication. I tell you, if we had a basic income grant implemented in this country, the emotions around land would have been cooler, because you are then addressing the extreme levels of poverty, and people feel human and they are taking care of their basic needs. And Namibia can afford a basic income grant. And finally, let's start a dialogue as soon as possible. As you concluded in the book, the emotions are running high, and it's time that we as Namibians